Welcome to COWL fans, casual fans home for Overwatch League news. We're coming at you live on the internet, or not live, after the fact, somewhere else on the internet, because we have that kind of capability.
Wow.
Before we get started, we just want to remind you to please check us out on social medias. We're at COWL fans everywhere you go, COWL fans for casual Overwatch League fans, and we would love to connect with you. Also, personal apology from me to you. We've been off the past couple weeks. It's been a past couple weeks. That's what it's been, you guys. We do this for fun, so this does not get all the priority in the world that some of the other podcasts do. But we appreciate when you guys come back and watch us, even when we've been away for a little bit. So thanks for that, for your support, and you guys are great.
Good news is the last 2 weeks really haven't mattered.
It's true.
Mayhem fans' perspective of the Countdown Cup. Florida played to expectation, no greater, no less. Just exactly as they were expected to do, which pleasant. I'd rather them have their glow up, you know, this week, I guess I should say,
Yeah,
rather than the Countdown Cup. So I'm here for it. We're still a strong team, and it's playoff time, baby.
it is. It
Be back
is.
right on time.
Yeah. And along with it being playoff time, it's unfortunately also time to interpret confusing posts and schedules as posted by the Overwatch League,
Mm.
and do some guessing, because if I remember correctly, last year we really didn't have anything about the playoff schedule until like the week before, which was kind of terrible. And now, right now, it feels like we have a schedule of game times, but we don't know really exactly which games are at which times, which is pretty frustrating.
Yeah,
There's
we
a
know
lot
the
going on.
first 3 days, but
Right.
after that,
Right. So there's a lot going on here. We're not really sure what lines up with what. We'll do our best to interpret that for you today.
yeah,
And but right now, let's talk a little bit about the MVP. I think we're gonna need to talk about the MVP.
yeah.
So we got some MVP players in the running, including Yaki from the Florida Mayhem, which they are doing a great job promoting.
Mm.
And so this is the overall league MVP. This is the one that we as fans get to vote on and really have a little bit of a say in.
Yes,
Want to talk to us
which
about that a
is
little bit?
unfortunate because everybody's voting not even the MVP of his own team, Exy of the Paris Eternal. But yeah, um, this feels like probably one of the most contested MVPs. So just to get all the candidates out of the way, um, you've got Xe, as I already said, of the Paris Eternal. You've got Ans and Choi of the San Francisco Shock. You've got Alarm and Carpe from the Philadelphia Fusion. Yaki, Florida Mayhem. Fleta and Void from the Shanghai Dragons. And then Krong from the Guangzhou Charge.
Yep,
And
there they
those
are.
are your 10 candidates. So um, off tanks, DPS, and then a couple support. Oh, I think I said Ans and Choi Hyobin
You did.
because that to me makes sense. It's Violet and Choi Hyobin, who I also think are deserving, but it feels weird not to have Ans here when he was almost definitively the best hit scan player of the entire year. But you have people like Carpe and Xe there instead. I don't know. That's weird to me. But maybe the biggest snub outside Hanmin, who is probably the best off tank in the league and isn't here. So
Yeah.
yeah, the MVP. As much as I love Yaki, it's probably not him.
Yeah. People,
But
the
it
Mayhem doesn't
it
have that
feels
kind of fan
good to
base.
have a candidate out of the Florida Mayhem.
It does. That's true.
I'm naming off those names. I'm not sure if you've looked into the MVP too much. Do you have a favorite or even a least favorite?
Mm, a personal favorite, or like one I'm expecting to win?
Sure, both. Why not?
Both. Both.
Let's do both.
As far as expecting to
Podcast,
win,
after all.
yeah, we can do that. As far as expecting to win, haven't really had my finger on the pulse too much for this, so
Right.
I have very little in the way of that. I've been honestly thoroughly impressed with what Yaki has put out and the way he's been able to help elevate the Florida Mayhem. But it's really tough for me to pick a personal favorite clearly, because most of my involvement, this show is called COWL Fans because of me. Right?
Right.
So most of my
Right.
involvement in the Overwatch League is centered around the Mayhem. So it's really hard for me to really do an impartial who do I think did the best job,
Right.
because
So you're on the Yaki.
I'm on the Yaki train.
The
I'm on the home
the Rock'em Sock'em Yakers.
That's it. I'm really on the Mayhem train. So as long as there's a Mayhem candidate, that's the one I'm gonna lean towards, because that's my home team, man. I am the fan Nate Nanzer told you about.
I feel like looking at the MVP, there are 1, 2, 3, 4. I would say 4 or 5 acceptable choices in my eyes.
Okay.
I think of this list, Carpe was the best hit scan player. And he's kind of been the favorite to win all year, the one you've been hearing probably talked about the most. A little bit of an NA bias there, I think, but
right.
Carpe's probably the overall favorite. But then you'd have Fleta, who I think is right up there with I think is definitively the best projectile player all year. Really impressive all around in what he's done in Asia. Then you have to bring up Void, probably the best off tank, not named Hanmin. And then it's either for your flex supports. You can make a argument, I believe, for Violet or Alarm. It's really, really close between the two. I think Violet's been performing a little bit better recently, but Alarm's been better all season, because Violet had the period where they weren't playing him and they were playing Architect on Ana, right?
Yeah.
I'm not if that's a scratch on his record or whatnot, but all 5 of those players, I think I'd be okay with any of them winning. I was voting for Alarm early on before the Countdown Cup, but I think after the Countdown Cup, Alarm slips a little bit in their loss to the Shock, when Twilight and Violet kind of really have their way with the Philadelphia Fusion, and just look like better flex supports than Alarm, although Alarm looked still great. They just looked a bit better. So I almost want to put my money on Fleta, because out of everyone I've named, I was saying you can make an argument for them being the best player outside someone who wasn't actually in the MVP. I think Fleta is the only person who's definitively the best in his role.
Gotcha.
So
makes sense.
Personally, I think my MVP is Fleta. And the good news is, unlike other podcasts who probably talked about this 2 weeks ago, we'll find out in a couple days.
That's true. We don't have to wait so long.
You're going to find out Thursday. If you didn't know when you're going to find out, it says right here, we will announce the winners during the postseason, which starts September 3rd.
It says during the postseason. Does it say they're going to announce it at the beginning of the postseason?
I guess. They say September 3rd, and they say during the postseason. Maybe it happens later. Usually they kind of knock that crap out right away. At least that's how I remember with Jonak. I don't remember when they announced Sinatra.
I don't really remember either.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's that.
That's that.
So, let's jump into these brackets, unless I forgot something. Did I forget something?
No.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we could just jump right into the bracket.
Okay, so if you go to the Overwatch League's website, first off, let me direct you to where the brackets are for those of you who struggled to find them as I did, because the first thing I did was jump to the schedule, and then I jumped to the playoff section of the schedule, and that's not going to help you. No, where you need to start is the playoffs button, and it's going to lead you on the details page, and then from there are some options to go to the various brackets. So you can see the
playoffs button helps too. I went from schedule to playoffs.
It worked?
Got to the right spot, yeah. Just epic fail.
I'm just terrible at. Okay, so never mind. It's pretty easy to find then. I just stink. Um. Anyways, from there you'll be able to see the North American playoffs bracket and the Asia playoffs bracket, which considering we've spent all this time investing in calling it the APAC region, just feels
Yeah,
kind of
kind of
sad.
weird. Kind of weird to go back to Asia after,
Yeah.
insisting on calling it APAC, which I think I brought up on the show before. It doesn't really make much sense because it's not Asia Pacific. All the teams and games are in Asia. There's no Pacific region.
No, there
That would
is a New
usually
York
be
team.
like Australia and other sorts of places are tied in, but nope, it's just Asia.
Clearly, they must have been trying to do some sort of expansion next year and canceled on that.
Yeah, I imagine they listened to our podcast and were like, you know what? He's right.
It's
Why
true.
are we saying Pacific? Don't
Yeah.
make no sense.
Yeah. So, so there's a lot of TBDs, you'll notice, and some of these just say TBD, TBD, TBD. So we really don't necessarily know, assuming that the bracket lines. We've been lied to by bracket lines before, right? We had the season, was it last season, where we did the reseeding as they went down the line, or was that 2 seasons ago?
Yes, it does not appear, and the way the casters have talked about the playoffs, there does not appear to be reseeding once your top 8 in North America and your top 4 in Asia are in place.
That's what I thought.
It seems like we just kind of play through.
But we're gonna maintain cautious optimism here, just in case.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Let's go off that assumption. I
yeah,
guess.
that's where we're gonna go. So you'll have playoffs. They're listing them as playoffs round 1 and playoffs round 2. These are really qualifiers and play-ins, and they're both the NA and the Asia bracket. They happen in both places. So in the Asia bracket, we have Chengdu Hunters and London Spitfire in the qualifiers, New York Excelsior and Hangzhou Spark in the play-ins.
Yes, and then Seoul is also in the play-in round. They just have yet to be picked, so they don't show up on the schedule. But Seoul is there in the nether somewhere.
Right. So the winner of the qualifiers will be one of the teams we picked, and the Seoul Dynasty will be one of the teams we picked for this playoffs round 2, or as we're used to calling them, the play-ins. This is all single elimination up to this point, and so that's September 4th and September 5th. In the North American bracket, which I just clicked off of because I'm a fool. There we go. In the North American bracket, we have something very similar. We have, in our qualifiers round, we have 4 teams. The Outlaws, the Uprising, the Justice, and the Titans. But then, so we will have 2 winners from those that will move on to play-ins. Then we have 3 teams in the play-ins round. Gladiators, Rain, and Fuel, which means there's another team, once again, in the twisting nether that needs to come out to be picked. That's the Defiant. Yeah. So the winner of Outlaws Uprising and the winner of Justice Titans and the Defiant will all be pickable teams for our play-ins. And then North America decided to take it one step further, and they also have another team in the nether that has made it to the playoffs, but is not going to have to play through play-ins, but is a pickable team in playoffs. And that is the Los Angeles Valiant. So between the winners of the 3 play-ins games and the Los Angeles Valiant will be able to be chosen for this beginning of the winners bracket playoffs. Oh man, that's just a lot of explanation that feels necessary.
Yeah,
just
there's
to read
a lot
this.
to digest. If you're a sports fan at all, you're getting kind of used to this. This is a very esports bracket, but with how complicated playoffs have been this year, with like bubbles and coronavirus, it's been fun watching like normal sports, traditional sports doing very esports feeling brackets. Like even hockey has reseeding every round now, which which is usually not a thing. It's they're having like top 4 round robins. It's fun. I'm like, oh, this is very esports.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot to digest. It could honestly be more confusing.
It could be. It could be.
So overall, I like how they've set everything up.
Yeah.
I don't mind every team getting a chance. I don't know if you have any strong feelings either way on that. That the Boston Uprising technically can make a run to grand finals. Technically.
Yeah. I will say I I feel like in some of our traditional sports we have not enough teams that get a chance at the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I really liked when we introduced having the 8 teams qualify and 4 teams play-ins, so that 12 teams total in the Overwatch League. That's over half of them, right? That is actually 60% of the teams. That's a pretty significant amount. All had a chance to make a run at the grand finals. That felt really fair and really valuable and really made it feel like the regular season mattered. This almost feels like, why did you even have a regular season if everybody's just going to qualify? I do not like that. I feel like that belittles the other work we've put into it. Unfortunately, it also seems like the direction that all esports want to take is forget regular seasons, let's just do tournaments all the time, which I also don't like. So
right, and then there's the if it's all about the regular season as well, I feel like just make the argument, why even have a playoffs? Just be like the Champions League in Europe and just have whoever's at the top of the bracket or the top of the regular season standings.
That's the winner.
They win it all.
Right.
And I mean, I don't watch the Premier League. It's really popular apparently, but I don't understand how that's exciting.
Right.
Hey, the Spurs lost, so Manchester United is the #1 team in the Champions League. Woo! Like they're not even on the field to celebrate. That feels weird.
Yeah.
So I think ultimately in a playoffs, the best team should win. So I like it in that, based off how you performed, you do have the best odds of setting yourself up for success.
Sure.
Like the Philadelphia Fusion getting to pick who they want in the very first round of what they're calling playoffs round 3, or the top 8 double elimination bracket, have a much better chance of winning it all than the Boston Uprising, who did not get to pick who they want, are put against the hardest team, what should be the most difficult team in the playoff qualifiers, and they have to go through 2 single elimination rounds before ever even making the top 8 double elimination bracket, and then they'll be the bottom seed. They'll probably be picked by the toughest team and will have the hardest road from there.
Right.
So it's like there still is some value to the regular season in that you were able to secure a very good spot.
Yeah.
Like the LA Valiant are going to be in the playoffs based off of how these last 2 weeks went. And the LA Gladiators are at risk of being upset and never even making it.
Yeah, and that's
totally, single match goes bad.
That's totally a valid thought process, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. But I just, when every team qualifies, why have a qualifier,
Yeah. I would have been okay if the bottom 4 teams, just that whole qualifier round didn't exist.
I agree. That would have really been my ideal position.
That makes it the bottom 2 teams. Literally just Boston and Washington don't make it, and then Houston, Vancouver, and Toronto are picked between the other 3 teams. Okay, yeah, you guys were abysmal. Congratulations.
Yeah, I would not have been against that, but I really did prefer when we had, 12 of our 20 teams making it to the playoffs. That felt really good to me. Felt like the regular season had a lot of value that way, and then also the playoffs had a lot of value that way. That really felt like the best way to put that together. I understand why we're doing it this way. It doesn't feel like there's really another option given the season of the world.
Yes.
But
and that's been happening across
Yeah.
sports. It's these expanded playoffs.
Yeah. Sports are never going to be the same after this.
Baseball did it. So so I guess it'll be interesting to see if we ever have a normal season again. I'm hopeful we do, right? Maybe not next year, but like the year after. Do we still stick to this everybody has a shot mentality? Do we continue to like that, or do we go back to kind of the norm of only these teams make it?
Right. So that being said, let's sort of go over how our schedule probably shakes down over the next couple weeks here.
Yeah.
All right. So this week we have Thursday, which is going to be all of our qualifiers.
And this is for North America because it doesn't line up with Asia.
Well, it kind of lines up with Asia. So Thursday evening and early Friday North America time is going to be the Asian. So that whole overnight endeavor is going to be the qualifiers. Then starting Friday afternoon, moving on into early Saturday morning, we're going to have the actual play-ins matches. So starting at Friday at 3 p.m. and keep going on until Saturday 7 a.m. You're going to have all the North American and all of the Asian play-ins or playoffs round 2 if you're reading the bracket. Saturday evening starts the first round, the top 8 winners brackets in North America and the top 4 winners brackets in the Asian region. So realistically, after the Friday evening game with the Fuel, which is scheduled for 7 p.m. on Friday, I'm imagining that Watch Point post show will have our 4 teams do our picking, and we'll know who we're playing on Saturday.
That seems right.
Likewise, after the 7 a.m. Saturday Hangzhou Spark game, I imagine they'll have the Shanghai Dragons and the Guangzhou Charge do their picking to do their early Sunday morning games. And then starting Sunday evening, we're gonna have 4 more games. They're all slated for North American times. None of them are in the Asian region time frame like we had some of the other games. So as best we can see, it looks like we're going to have the first round of losers games, which if you're looking at your bracket says TBD, TBD, and TBD, TBD. But it's the first set of them.
Yeah.
So we're going to have our first round of losers games. So there's 2 games there. I should have our first round, or rather our second round of winners games. So there's 2 more pairs of TBDs. And that'll be the end of week 1. Starting next week, we're basically going to finish off these brackets. We're going to get all the way to the end of them next week, going from Friday through Sunday. So we're going to have 3 days of games again, which is going to be nice. As best as we can tell, no guarantees here, because everything just says TBD. There's no numbers on the games. We have no real concept, but
just kind of inferring based off of
the way the schedule seems to work.
What needs to be done for it to be known what team would play next.
Exactly. It looks like Friday next week we will have the second round of losers bracket in North America.
Yeah.
And then early Saturday morning, we should have the first round of Asian losers. No, scratch that. Saturday morning, we should have the first Asian losers and the first Asian winners.
Yes. So by the end of Saturday morning, we'll know who's going to Grand Finals weekend out of the Asia bracket.
Correct.
And by the end of Saturday, we'll also know in North America because...
no. Well, yes, we'll know who's going. That's right.
We'll know 1 team at least. We'll know 2 teams, 1 from each region.
Right.
So, what do we see in North America?
So then Saturday afternoon, North America has 2 more games, which has got to be our winners finals, whatever you want to call that, and our losers finals.
Loser semis.
Loser semis, excuse me. Yeah, I had to scroll to the right. These brackets are gigantic. Which will then be followed by Sunday early morning. Should be the final, the losers. Golly,
Losers finals of each region.
Losers, right? Early Sunday morning will be losers finals in Asia, but it looks like Sunday afternoon is going to have to be the finals for North America. I feel like I'm missing a game here for Asia.
No, because remember, so the team that comes out of winners and the team that comes out of losers moves on to the grand finals weekend. So Saturday, you'll have your 2 winners finals as well as your losers semis in Asia and North America. And then the winner of the losers semis and the loser of the winners final will meet on Sunday in the losers final. And then the winner of that match gets to move on to the grand finals weekend. So yeah, both.
Yes, you're right. You're right. I accidentally threw another NA game in there in my head.
Yeah, so there's no finals, right? So usually losers finals and winners finals would lead to a grand final, but instead it just decides who our 2 qualifying teams are, or 2 representatives from each region to meet in the final 4 interregional tournament.
Right. Now, from there, once we have our winners and losers finalists established, you have to jump over to a grand finals bracket, which has no information in it. not a single piece.
Not a lick.
No Asia APAC winner versus NA loser. Nothing. Now, I think we've been told, right? Have we been told that? It's just not on this bracket?
What?
That it's APAC winners versus NA losers and NA winners versus APAC losers?
Yes, we have been told that.
Okay.
So, yeah, what will be considered the upper seed in North America will go against the lower seed of Asia, and then vice versa. And the other thing. And so, when will that take place?
That doesn't take place until October the 8th. So then we have Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in October, 8, 9, and 10 for what they're calling the grand finals bracket, because we needed a third bracket. So go ahead and everybody turn in your online workbooks to the grand finals bracket page. Golly, this is... Overwatch League, you got to do better next time, you guys. Like, I know we're in COVID season, but you didn't fire all your graphic designers in this season, did you? Because if you did, that was a terrible idea. And really, just giving them numbers. Game 1, Game 2, winner of Game 1, winner of Game 2.
Yeah, because when they first released the utterly gigantic grand finals schedule and what it was going to look like, it was like almost too much to digest, because you had to look at like a bunch of images. And then it was just like winner of match 15 versus loser of match 16.
Right.
And like all this crazy stuff. But like, I don't know. I feel like that would have been helpful.
Yeah, this is
somewhere.
It's like looking at an empty sheet of paper and having somebody tell you this is the bracket. Well, okay, you drew the bracket lines, but there's nothing else in there, so that's not helpful.
I am glad to know the times though, because I feel like in so many esports, I'll be like, I know the finals are this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But when is that?
Right. So
the tournament starts on Wednesday. It's Tuesday. I don't know when to tune into the broadcast.
So one thing
Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, I'm looking at you guys. What are you doing? Get it together.
This has been Howler's Salty Moments, brought to you by Morton Salt. We are not affiliated with Morton Salt.
About that, but now Super Smash Brothers Ultimate doesn't even exist because they don't have proper Wi-Fi. Feels bad, man.
Yep. Okay. So one thing that we all need to keep in mind during the Grand Finals weekend is it is being hosted in Asia, so there are Asian times, which means we're over here on the East Coast at COWL fans. So the Thursday games are at 7 and 9 in the morning. Yeah, that's true. East Coast US, not East Coast Asia. We're not living in Japan.
We're not in Busan.
Right. So 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. on October 8th are our game times. October 9th, our games start at 5 in the morning. Right?
Because there's 3 games that day. They just finish everything out.
Yeah,
That's
everything is
going to
gonna.
be brutal for some teams, I'd imagine.
Yeah, everything on Friday is gonna. Yeah, it's gonna polish off the winners and the losers grand finals brackets, and this is kind of interesting, right? Because we've never done something like this, but basically, people who came out of the losers bracket have another chance for a double elimination bracket, um,
Yeah,
which is pretty unique.
that's true.
It's pretty
Yeah, it's
unique.
not often that you can lose twice and make grand finals, but that is a real option for some
It's
teams.
not a real option. It's going to happen to at least one team is going to lose twice and make grand finals
Mm,
probably.
yeah, I mean it's not guaranteed because you
Well,
can
yeah,
still have the both winners from each region. One goes through the winners bracket, the other one loses once and then
right.
goes through the losers
Well,
bracket. So it's
yeah,
not guaranteed that there's going to be a double wash.
but there's a
There's a
really
high
high
probability.
chance.
Yeah, yeah, which would be that's interesting. I didn't even think about that. But that is pretty unique.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see how they schedule that game that day because
Yeah.
they did this in Call of Duty recently, and I did not like what they did. So Friday is going to be your winners, your losers semis, your winners finals, and your losers finals, right?
As best
How
I can
Call
tell.
of Duty did it is semis, losers semis was first, winners finals was second, and then the losers final was third.
That's rough on the winners
Yes,
on the
I do
losers
not
final.
like how it gives the winners a disadvantage of not having a break between their game. That should happen to the loser.
Yeah.
So for me, it's very important that winners play first. But I think they'll want to have the winners be at a better time for both regions, so they will have it be the later game. So they will probably also do losers, semis, winners, finals, winners, or losers finals, which I do not like that the team that comes out of winners is now at a disadvantage. They should have as many advantages built into the bracket as possible.
Yeah.
So we don't know if that's going to be the case. I am just kind of assuming based off of some sense of what they want as far as from a broadcasting perspective, and then just what happened in the Call of Duty League, which is their sister league. I imagine
Right.
there's a lot of crossover between the people who are deciding these schedules. So I hope they don't do that.
Yeah, that
But
does not sound good.
we'll see. And
So
then
then we'll have our
Saturday
grand finals
finals,
Saturday
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
Which
Eastern.
which honestly is pretty darn decent for in a time considering that the games are taking place in Asia. That's
Yeah.
the latest Asian games have happened all year. I start work at 9 a.m. So that's a normal thing for me.
Yeah.
I am okay being up and ready at 9 a.m. Is it ideal? Am I firing on all cylinders, ready to cheer? Maybe not, but you know, it's a bit of the apex experience. Those of you who never got to experience Overwatch League Overwatch, welcome. This is kind of what it's like. Particularly that Friday, you'll get the real Apex experience if you wake up at 5 a.m.
Probably the roughest region for viewership in this is going to be the west coast of North America, right? Because
yeah,
they're gonna that's 6 a.m. for them.
6 a.m. Yeah, well, I mean, and then Friday it's 2 a.m. to whatever 8 a.m.
Yeah, so
when the matches would end. So
yeah, sorry, West Coast. It's our time to shine.
All right, we're running low on time, but I have a few rants.
Okay,
I want to go on at different parts of the bracket, so I'm gonna try to get to as much of that.
I'm your time. I'm your timekeeper. I'm not gonna let you go over.
I want to make sure we talk about the Florida Mayhem, and I want to talk about what the meta is. So we don't know what the meta is. Let's just start with that. We don't know. There was once again for the third playoffs in a row, the biggest balancing patch of the entire year comes the very week before the playoffs. So honestly anything could happen, right? So in ladder right now, what's very popular is no double off tank. It's Zarya Roadhog is the meta in like Grandmasters right now. So there's a possibility we go into a double off tank meta, and then depending on the map, you see double hit scan like Widow Ashe, or you see Widow / Ashe combined with Tracer, Genji, or Sombra, some sort of flanker. Just depends on the sight lines and the size of the map and whatever. So and then Mercy Ana. So it's sort of similar to what we saw maybe the last week of season 2, but so that's one of the possibilities. But the other thing that people are saying is that the Anas are too good in Overwatch League to get away with not having a shield and to play Roadhog and Zarya. You just, even though technically the bubbles are supposed to be there to protect against sleep darts, hooks, and bio grenades, there's just not enough of them to go around. And they say it's too devastating. So the rumor mill and what most of like the competitive Overwatch subreddit and a lot of people seem to believe is that we're gonna see Winston Zarya. And they almost all think it's just gonna look exactly like the last week of season 2, except Zarya will be unbanned. So it would be like Ashe, Sombra, Winston, Zarya, Mercy, Ana.
Okay.
But we don't really know that as well. I wouldn't be surprised, especially in North America, to see Tracer be more common than the who did I say? Sombra. So I could see that, like Asia playing Sombra. Nero tweeted out that the APAC region is kind of cray-cray. Like I wouldn't be surprised to see Torbjorn coming out. It's if it is a Sombra meta, right? Torbjorn is a natural counter, especially if we go into double off tank. Especially with off tanks like Zarya and Roadhog, it's very hard for them to get in a position to shoot a turret, especially if the turret's defensively placed, to just mostly focus on warding off a Sombra from hacking your backline. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Torbjorn's, particularly on defense, be a thing if it is double off tank, because there's no shield for you to stand behind and get sight lines. You're going to be at extreme danger if you try to get that turret, right? So there could be extreme value for Torbjorn. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Torbjorn's in play. We really don't know how it's going to go. But if you're a Florida Mayhem fan, you better be praying that it's a Winston meta.
Right?
Because Fate's Winston has been spectacular, not just this season, but his whole career. The dude got into the World Cup based off his Winston play in Korea, which is basically saying like you're an OWL MVP at that hero. If you make the Korean All-Stars, you might as well say. So really, really, that would be our ideal meta. If we have to put Fate on Roadhog, I'm a bit worried. If it's Roadhog, Zarya, Widow, Ashe, we are dead. We are gone.
Yeah.
Just bye-bye Florida Mayhem. We are going to poop out of the bracket. And,
so fast.
And that'll be it. Because we don't have 2 hit scan players. Saya is still in Korea, as far as I'm aware. Last time I watched a stream, he was definitely on Korean servers.
Well,
he took a bike that was in his Korean house. So I'm not expecting Saya player to be there. And Yaki has surprised me all year with his hero pool. I do not think it's going to be him suddenly coming out on the Widowmaker.
Yeah.
If Yaki can do that and we go on a deep run, like I say we retcon this whole MVP and give it to Yaki. Because what? Like, but that would be worst case scenario. What most people are expecting would actually probably be pretty good for the Mayhem. It'll put a lot more of the onus on BQB rather than Yaki, because Yaki's going to be on the Sombra, less of an impact role as far as damage output.
Yeah.
So it's going to fall on BQB. And although I think BQB has been very good and has been like one of the highest damage outputting DPS in the league, I think he leads damage done on per 10 on Ashe, right? Like he has been very good. both of our DPS we're the only DPS duo in the league to have over 1,000 final blows this season.
Yeah.
Everybody else is just one person. We have both BKB and Yaki both cross that 1K mark, and there's only like 8 players in total who did this.
Right.
So our DPS slapped. So I'm not too worried about that. But Yaki has been more clutch than BQB. So BQB is going to have to show that he can like stand up to your Anzes of the world and your Carpes, right?
Right.
Which I don't think he's quite shown that level. He's been very good, but can he be the best of the best? Particularly if they switch to Widowmaker. Because we had that LA Valiant loss where KSP just started to dominate and BQB couldn't keep up.
Right.
So,
all right, you have one other rant. You have 5 more minutes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see. So I have a lot of rants. I don't like that the Asian teams have so many innate advantages built into the bracket.
Okay.
Versus how the North American ones are. I know we have a lot more games to play and we have a lot more teams. So you could say North America has an advantage because we have more bad teams to play. But I think people overrate the APAC region. I think our top 4 are stronger than or maybe equal to. No, I would say they're definitely stronger than the top 3. Like, I think Guangzhou Charge and New York Excelsior are as strong or slightly weaker than the Florida Mayhem. And then I think Shanghai Dragons are maybe on par with Shock, Fusion, and Paris.
Okay.
But I do not believe that I think North American has been challenged more than Asia. And so a lot of people have been been saying the Asian teams are stronger. I actually think the North American teams are stronger, but I don't think we're going to be able to show it because we have to travel to Asia.
Right.
So we have 2 weeks of travel or whatever. Our teams have to quarantine probably before they start playing. It's going to severely affect their practice. We're the ones who have to deal with jet lag and all that.
Will
right?
quarantine impact their practice? Can they not practice at their rooms where they're quarantining?
I don't know how the quarantine is going to work. How are they going to get these machines set up? Where are they quarantining? Like, there's a lot of questions about how this is going to work. And no matter what, they're going to have to do that whatever 18, 20-hour travel time to get there,
yes.
Which I'm sure is only exacerbated due to COVID. So it's going to be a lot more physically demanding of them.
Right.
And then they have to deal with being in these kind of makeshift quarantine setups where the Asian teams are going to be in where they've been playing this whole time.
There's
they're
a comfort
going to be
level.
A lot more comfortable. It might take a while for everything to kind of get going. So I imagine the Asian teams are going to have extra scrim time. So I don't love the advantages that they have in that regards. And then, you know how the first week of a meta, it takes a little bit to shake out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you could have a bad read the first week, you lose both your games that weekend, and then the next week you adjust,
right,
and you come out, right? So the Asian teams that make the Final Four play their winner. They just play their opening games, their 2 matches, and then that's it for the week. And all 4 teams that make the Final Four go on to week 2. In North America, 2 teams from the top 8 bracket are going to drop out. And I do not love that.
Yeah.
That if you get a misread on the meta, you might just drop out of the tournament, where that won't happen to someone in Asia. They have an extra week to try to adjust.
This is really the reason why it would be great to not have had everybody qualify. You could have had the actual number of teams in each region line up.
This is why it would have been great to have playoffs be longer. Like, I know you have to have all this travel time and stuff, but I would have liked maybe the play-in teams. You don't get a break. Sorry, you're a play-in team. This is one of the things that happens when you have to do the play-ins. I would say play-ins don't be on the playoff patch, and have it be immediately after week 2 ended. Like, it should have been last weekend. Should have been the play-ins.
Yeah,
and then spread out the playoffs a little bit more so it doesn't feel so gosh dang rushed.
Right, that would have been helpful. But at the end of the day, I really think that just there's not a lot we can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But like, let's say it does end up being double off tank, and we decide to run Winston, and we just kind of die. We just fall out. Like that would feel bad when we don't have it. We don't have that chance to adjust because it's. I mean, it's just that's something that happens in Overwatch. Sometimes your scrim bubble was not the better scrim bubble. The other scrim bubble that was happening between other teams figured out a better meta.
Yeah.
I'm hoping with extra time off and with a lot of teams scrimming the playoff patch right after the Countdown Cup ended, like a lot of teams weren't even scrimming the last 2 weeks meta, which again, why those games really didn't matter unless you were the LA Valiant and like the Atlanta Reign who were fighting for that last spot. It really didn't matter. So everybody's been practicing this patch for a while, so hopefully the meta's figured out and there are no weird upsets like that. But I kind of want to throw my money on right now. Everybody playing Winston, Zarya, Ashe, and then Sombra Tracer, whatever it is. Most teams playing that. And then I think I could see the Houston Outlaws saying, we're going to run double off tank. We're going to run Meko and Hydration on double off tank. Because Hydration is going to be good at that.
Right.
And they're going to say, we have no chance to just beat these teams straight up. Let's throw our money on double off tank and see what happens. And I could see them pulling off some upsets.
Yeah. Cool beans. All right. Well, that's it. That's all we get today.
Yeah.
If you want more, you're going to have to come back again later.
There's so much.
There's so much.
Next week, we'll discuss whatever happened. It doesn't feel like playoffs happened in 2 days, but playoffs happen in 2 days.
Yep. That's it. It's coming. It's coming around the mountain when it comes.
Jeez Louise.
All right. Well, hey, thanks everybody for joining us today. Thank you. No, I don't have to give out thanks anymore. Just fell back into some old habits there. Please make sure to follow us on social medias at COWL Fans. You can also find myself and Howleir at our respective @handles on Twitter and whatever, I guess, mostly just Twitter.
Just Twitter.
Yeah. So come hang out with us. We'd like to get to know you. Thanks again for watching. I'm Aluramore.
I'm Howleir.
And we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.